That's the house that my family and I have been in since 1998. And that's my family. The picture was taken a couple of years ago. My wife Amy and I and our 3 boys. And for most of the time we had 3 dogs. Our oldest dog recently passed away. 12 chickens, depending on the hawks, 2 beehives. Our house was built in 1978, and I built an office next door, which is not in the picture, in 2010. And it was 9 years ago here at a similar event that I took the pledge 2020 by 2012 and started working on thinking about my carbon footprint. So I'm an engineer. So I kind of nerd out on this stuff a little bit, and I had actually measured my carbon footprint. I've been measuring it since 2003, but here's a snapshot from 2005. So and the way that you can think about it, if you haven't been to the carbon footprinting table, you should check it out. But so if you pile up all your electricity bills and look at the oil that we use oil for home heat. We use a little bit of propane for cooking. And at the time we had these 2 cars, a minivan, because we're driving to soccer games and hockey games and things, and then a Subaru. And we were 60,000 pounds of CO2 in 2005. And you can see really transportation was a lot. It was 66% of our carbon footprint was transportation, which shocked me. And so what's not in here is, there's a carbon footprint associated with your diet and food, and a carbon footprint associated with if you fly on an airplane. There's many ways to think about and define the boundaries for your carbon footprint, but for today I'm going to just really talk about your home and your vehicles. So as first, actually I want to do this. So I want to have you talk to the person next to you, faced with that question, what would you do? So you have a minute to talk to the person next to you to say, what would you do? What would you go and do if you had to reduce your carbon footprint? You have 1 minute, ready to go. This is a serious assignment.
Gotta be insulation. Gotta be insulation.
All right. Can you guys yell out some of the things that you might go and do? What would you do, Jay? What would you guys talk about?
We talked about where to put the panels.
All right, where to put the panels. Cool. How about you guys over there? What'd you guys talk about? Yeah, Phil. What'd you guys talk about? Electric car, more insulation, energy assessment. All right. So it's a lot of good ideas here. It's not rocket science. You kind of are familiar with a lot of this. So
Stay in bed.
Stay in bed. Shep was saying more insulation. Maybe another blanket. All right, so I just want to tell you a little bit about my journey. So Ashley, if you go ahead and do that. One of the first things I did was I actually got this thing's called a kilowatt meter. It's a fun little thing. It costs $25 on Amazon, or I don't think they have them at the building center. But you can plug any device into it to measure the energy use of almost any appliance in your home except for your dryer, because that's 220. So one of the first things I did was I measured our fish tank. And our fish tank ended up being 10% of our total electricity load for 3 fish that no one cared about. So I have to tell you that the fish did not end with they didn't do well after this analysis, and they met they met their demise in the Gloucester Public Treatment Works. So I got rid of the fish. But then I started measuring a lot of things. So I measured like the house fans. It turns out, wow, those there's very little energy. They're so awesome. You could run them all day and they don't use any energy. And then I measured some more stuff. I measured my refrigerator, and wow, it was an old refrigerator. And I thought, I got to replace that someday. And then I measured my old computer. This is before like the new computer. And I always left that thing on. I never turned it off. And that was like $200 a year to run. Yes, because I just left it on. I work at home. So I like to leave it on. I did. I measured my dehumidifier, and that was really, really bad. I had to tell you that. And I measured. So then what did we do? I found out there's some really heavy uses in our home in electricity. So the fishing tank, the dryer, the dehumidifier. We have a freezer because we freeze food. Our refrigerator, the old computer. We got a new dryer, which is in the picture there. So we do actually, we are, except for my 17-year-old son, which he uses the dryer and takes long showers, like really long. But so we did make some sacrifices in terms of deciding to like hang our clothes instead of use the dryer. So we do quite a bit of that. But really, other than that, we haven't really made a lot of sacrifices in reducing energy use. I did end up purchasing a new refrigerator through an incentive from Mass Save and got money off on that. And then Sears misdelivered the refrigerator 4 times. And I got $200 in rebates from Sears for their misdelivery. They brought it without an ice maker 4 times. I ordered it with an ice maker. I don't know how that company's in business. So we had Mass Save come. I've had Mass Save contractors come twice to my home over the last 10 years. And it depends on who the contractor is, and sometimes you get a great contractor, and sometimes that contractor 4 years later is not as good. And I would encourage you, definitely do the Mass Save program. They will do an evaluation for you, and you will get free light bulbs. And you may get some other discounted services, like discounted on insulation. In my case, they also did a blower door test, which is where they put a big fan and evacuate your home of air to understand how tight your home is. And this is for the purposes of heating. So it was a fascinating test. And I also had Mike Salmon, who's in this booth right behind the curtain here. He came and did a similar audit at my home. So I've done a couple of these things, and I used incentives to purchase a new refrigerator. I used Mass Save incentives to increase insulation. I used Mass Save incentives to seal up all the little air holes, like throughout your home, wherever a wire or a pipe goes through a floor or through a ceiling, that's a place that air escapes. And anytime you have air that's moving through your home and out into your attic and then out of your home, you're throwing money out the door, and like any Yankee, you don't want to do that. So Mass Save certainly is a great program. I would highly recommend having them come in. And also I took advantage of the state incentives and got $500 off a furnace. Our furnace was the original that came in the home in 1978, and we got a high efficiency one. So the energy audits were helpful. Go ahead, Ashley. So that's the blown-in insulation around the rafters in the basement. Keep going. That's a device that goes when you go into the attic in your home. If you have one of these pull-down attic doors, it's a huge opportunity for heat to go right through your home and up into the attic. So this is an airtight unit that Mass Save provided after an audit. I ended up putting in a wood stove to heat with wood, and now I'm reconsidering how much I heat with wood, because what we've learned subsequently is that heating with wood is we're accelerating maybe putting that carbon into the air. So I'm reconsidering the use of my wood stove. We put in some super good shower heads. I got that at Home Depot. It's not like some of those terrible ones that you use and you think there's no real water here. Why am I? It's like a dry shower. That's a really good one, and it's a 1.4 gallons per minute shower head from Home Depot, or from the building center. And here's that's a knee wall that was very poorly insulated, and it was in a really drafty room. I don't know if we have our home style is a slanted roof in like a dormer situation, and those knee wall areas are typically not well insulated. So the energy audits were helpful. Here's a new heating system that was put in, partially subsidized by Mass Save. We got solar panels. So when I built my office, I wanted to put solar panels on it. I had 4 companies bid on the solar panels and ended up choosing a company. There were no local contractors. I ended up using a company out of New Hampshire who had never done work in Massachusetts before. So it was great because they were like, we really want to work with you guys. We want to work with you, Tim, because it would be wonderful to work in Massachusetts, and they gave me a great deal. But they had never gone through the building permit process in Massachusetts. So everyone knows the motto in New Hampshire, live free or die. It's also put on solar panels like however you want in New Hampshire. And they didn't realize when they came down here they needed not only an electrical permit but a building permit, which they never got. And so they put the panels on my roof, and then the building inspector came out and said, where's the building permit? And they hadn't gotten one. So it was just a word to the wise around vetting and making sure that the system works great. It's been fully functional and it's met every expectation that I ever had for a solar system. But I vetted 4 vendors, but I didn't think about that one issue of someone who had never had any experience in the Commonwealth. And we got a Prius. We got rid of the Subaru, and we got a Prius, and that's been fantastic. Get an automobile that gets 47 miles to the gallon, which was a big increase from one that did 22. So that's actually a graph of our electricity use. So going back to like 2002, I think. So it kind of crested up in like 2004, and then I started working on the fish tank and putting in lighting changes, and it plateaued out around 2008. And then in I think 2010, we got the solar panels, and that just plummeted the electricity use down to around 2012. And then I did the second round of energy efficiency conservation work in 2012 and 2013, and now our net energy use last year was 112 kilowatt hours that we purchased from Mass Electric. So we're essentially that we used to use 600 a month, and now we're at 100 a month, 100 in a year. So we don't really buy much electricity from Mass Electric. So 9 years later, we've done a 10 years later, we've done a 45% reduction. So our bill went from $2,000 a year to last year we paid $139 for electricity. Our oil bill went from $2,000 a year to $1,000, and that's hot water. Then gasoline, with the Prius and the number of miles that car drives, we're saving about $500 a year. That's not without investment. The main investments were the solar panels, which were expensive. They were, I put them into a home equity loan, but it was $25,000. It's going to pay out. But the break-even point for us for the panels was about 4.5 years with tax breaks. So after 4.5 years, we are receiving $2,000 a year in free electricity and other benefits through our RECs. So what's up for us for the future? An electric car. And I would like to get heat through electricity. So we'll be looking at a ground source heat pump probably. So those are the, if you go back one slide, you can see really still transportation are you know, of 30-odd thousand pounds, you know, 70% is still our vehicles. And try to drive less and try to bike, but can't really do that if you have to go to Vermont or, yeah. So anyway, that's kind of our journey from one homeowner, and so as you think about taking the pledge, think about it as having a plan, and how do you get after it? There are lots of low-cost ways to do it, and there's lots of resources out there for you to do it as well. It's just, you know, trying to have the grit to stick to the plan. So, thank you.